Like I said, in Algebra 1, you did a lot of equations. You did equations of lines. Mainly, we talked about slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. We talked about other forms of equations of line, point, slope form, standard form. We also had equations of quadratics. Remember that quadratic equations made a parabola. Today, we're going to talk about equations of circles, and then we're going to graph circles using their equations. So did y'all know y'all could graph a circle? We're going to. Now, you don't talk a lot about graphing circles because circles are not functions because they fail the vertical line test, right? You draw a vertical line through a circle, you touch and pick points. So a circle is not a function, but it is an equation. All right, so we're going to start with basic ones that are centered at the origin. Okay? So from the Pythagorean theorem, you know your x is your horizontal distance on a graph, right? We know that. X is the horizontal distance from the origin. Your y is your vertical distance from the origin. So derived from the graph, you can get the radius of the circle by finding the hypotenuse of a right triangle. Okay? So anytime we are centered at the origin, we can use the formula x squared plus y squared equals the radius squared. X squared plus y squared equals the radius squared. Anytime the center of our circle is at the origin. Okay? So that's how we're going to get equations of circles that are centered at the origin. We're going to use x squared plus y squared equals radius squared. And we can do that because of the Pythagorean theorem. Okay? So we start at the origin. We go to the x distance. We go up to y or down to y distance. And if we find this makes a right angle. So we have a right triangle will be our radius will be our hypotenuse. Okay? So that's how that works, and it's because of the Pythagorean theorem. So you don't have to draw this circle. You're just going to take information from it. Write the equation of the circle that is shown. We're going to write the equation of this circle. First, we need to find the center. Is the center of this circle at the origin? Yes. So since it is, we're going to say x squared plus y squared equals the radius squared. Now, it's not always going to be centered at the origin. So when we get on into the lesson, we're going to have a center somewhere else, and we'll show you what to do then, okay? But if it's centered in the origin, you're going to say x squared plus y squared equals the radius squared. And since the origin is at 0, 0, and those are your x and your y coordinates for your center, all you have to do is plug in the radius. Now, what is the radius? 3. If they didn't have it all nice and red for you, let me see if I can erase without erasing my whole circle. If they didn't have that red line there, oops, I can't. Could you find the radius yourself? There's a bump. How would you do that? Count your spaces across, right? Or you could do it vertically. All right? So if they just give you a graph like on your homework tonight or whatever, you can count the radius if they do not tell you the radius, if it's centered at the origin. Okay? So all you have to do is plug in the radius, which we said was 3. So you're going to say x squared plus y squared equals 3 squared, and all you have to do is square your 3. What is 3 squared? 9. X squared plus y squared equals 9. There's your equation of your circle. Okay? So if it's centered at the origin, that's all you have to do is find the radius and square it. Any questions there? All right. But we are not always centered at the origin, like I said. Most of the time, the center of a circle is at another coordinate. So this is the formula we're going to use for an equation of a circle that is not centered at the origin. Now, here's why the origin equation works. X minus 0 is x, and y minus 0 is y. So it's basically the same formula, except for that was simplified because your x and your y value are zeros. You will see this again in Algebra 2 honors, and you will see this again in college algebra. Okay. So yes, we need to memorize this formula. We have a test on Wednesday, so we need to make sure we know this. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Now, what do you think r is? The radius. And h and k, excuse me, are your coordinates, your x and your y coordinate for your center of your circle. Okay? The only thing is we're going to change the sign. So whatever your x value is, we're going to change the sign and put it in this parentheses. Whatever your y value is, we're going to change the sign and put it in this parentheses. What is that? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to practice finding equations of circles with a radius at a different location. So all you have to write down that the radius is 4.2 and the center is at 0, -9. Okay? That should be all you have to write down. Now we're going to plug that into our formula. Did they tell me the coordinates of the center? Yes. Did they tell me the radius of that circle? Yes. Then we have everything we need to write the equation of the circle. That's what you need. Your coordinates of the center and the radius. Then you can plug it into the formula. Formula is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So this number is your h, this number is your k, this is your r. Okay? So that minus in those parentheses means you're going to change the sign of h and k. So I'm going to say, well, 0 don't have a sign, so you can leave that a minus. Plus, where it says y minus k, well, your k is -9, so minus a negative changes to a plus. So y plus 9, equals r squared. And what's my r? 4.2 squared. So you change your sign of h and k and put them in the parentheses. Now, technically, you can leave that 0 there and it's still correct. But technically, x minus 0 is just x, correct? So you could write it x squared plus y plus 9 squared equals, and then you're just going to type in 4.2 squared in your calculator. Yeah, I'm not going to round that, so that way I can keep my equal sign. And there's your equation of this circle. So if you have a 0, you can just subtract it and leave it x squared or y squared, depending on if it's h or k. So if they give you the ordered pair, that's what you do. Change the sign of your x, put it in with the x. Change your sign of your y, put it in with y, equals radius squared. Let's try another one. Again, they're giving me the center and the radius. So we just have to plug everything into the formula. Okay. So the formula is what? Can y'all tell me? Equals r squared. So what is my h? So I change the sign and say x plus 2 squared. Plus my k is 5. So I change the sign and say y minus 5 squared equals 7 squared. And the only thing I have to do is fix 7 squared. And what is 7 squared? 49. So that's all you have to do after you plug in anything is change your radius squared to just a number. So any questions on writing an equation of a circle? It's pretty easy. Change your x, change your y, put them in parentheses, square the radius. Okay. Y'all try this one. just writing the equation of the circle. All right, so my formula is x minus h parentheses squared plus y minus k parentheses squared equals r squared. So what goes in the first parentheses? X minus 4 squared, because we changed the sign of 4, plus what goes in my second parentheses? Y plus 5, because I changed the sign of the negative 5, equals, what's my r? 11. So all I have to do is simplify 11 squared. And what does that simplify to? So x minus 4 squared plus y plus 5 squared equals 121. Raise your hand if you got that for your equation. Any questions on writing the equation of a circle? All right. So now we need to get out our graph paper. So get out a piece of graph paper. I gave you two. One's for homework, one's for notes. All right, so we're going to use our equation of our circle to help us graph the picture of this circle. So we're going to use the equation to graph the circle. Now, what two things should I be able to tell from my equation? The radius and the center, right? How will we get the radius? Yeah, if 36 is the radius squared, then to get just the radius, I take the square root of 36, right? And what is the square root of 36? 6. 6 units is my radius. Now for the center, do y'all remember how I would get that? Yep. So your x value will be in there with the x and the y value is in there with the y, but you change their signs. So it says minus 4, so for my center will be at positive 4. And it says plus 2, so my center will be at negative 2. So any questions about how I got my radius and my center from the equation? Now, graphing a circle is not difficult. It's just we're not very good at drawing circles on our own, but I'm going to show you how you're supposed to technically do it. First thing you need to do is graph your center. So draw yourself an X and Y coordinate plane. We haven't done this in a while. You're going to start at the right 4, so I'm going to kind of make mine a little bit more to the inside. So my center goes right 4 and down 2. So graph the point 4, negative 2. Now, your radius is 6. And remember, the radius is the same all the way around the circle, right? So I need you to graph 4 points on your circle to connect it all the way around. So I want you to go horizontally to the left and to the right 6. And then I want you to go up and down 6. So I'm going to go the right 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to go left 6. And you're going to go up 6. That's way up there. And then go down 6. So this is a kind of relatively large graph. And I know those points kind of make it look like a diamond, right? Like a square turned upside down or rotated about 90 degrees. So what you want to do is kind of sketch it out to where it's like rounded. I'm really not good at this. I have to do it like section at a time. Oh, that's terrible. Sometimes I have to like twist my paper. So what you're going to do is you're going to start with your center, do your radius left and right, up and down, and then try to connect all 4 points in a circular shape. If you have a tool called a compass, I don't think I have any in here. They're actually easier. Where are my compasses? Here's a compass. Here's a few compasses. I don't have enough for everybody, but I've got 4 or 5 that we could pass around if we needed to, but this would make it take longer than it should. What you do when you have a compass is, mine's obviously not big enough, but you stick the center in with this point, and the pencil part, you do it across your radius, and it'll go at, if I would still have to do 1 point, or actually I'd do all 4, and then I would just trace it around like that. So that's what a circle compass is good for. It just looks just as good as mine. Okay? So that would be what I would do if you have one of these. If not, then do like this. I'm not going to judge you on how beautiful and round and perfect your circles are, obviously, because I can't do them perfectly. Yeah, mine does too. It looks like a square with you squish the ends in. But that's how you do it, y'all. You graph the ordered pair for your center, and you measure out in 4 directions the radius. That's it. All right, let's try another one. The equation of a circle is y minus 1 squared plus y plus 2 squared equals 16. Graph the circle. So what 2 things do I need from my equation? Radius and the center. What's the radius of this circle? It would be the square root of 16, which is 4 units. And what's my center of this circle? Right, you change the signs of what's in the parentheses with x and y, so it's going to be a positive 1 and a negative 2. So any questions about how we got those 2 things? Okay, so then you start graphing. One, negative 2. Make sure you're able to go up and down 4 from 1, negative 2 when you do your graph. Right there's my center. Everything I'm drawing is really crooked. And then you're going to go 4 in every direction to get your endpoints. Are you laughing at circles? Oh, Lord. I always have trouble with this bottom right-hand corner. If this was a piece of paper, I'd like twist it because I do better on certain spots. So if I had a piece of paper, I'd twist it. But there's my circle. All right, so we're going to, any questions about how to graph a circle? There are currently 4 people using their cell phone, and they should be taking notes right now. All right, so the next thing is a little different. They tell me the center and 1 point on the circle, and we have to come up with the equation. So they give us the center and 1 point on the circle, so we have to come up with the equation. Now, what 2 things do we need to write the equation of a circle? The center and the radius. So what of those 2 things do we not have? The radius of the circle. So we've got to find the radius of the circle. So this is the edge of the circle. Here's my center. So it's going to go through point A and be a circle and be the same distance around, or same distance from the center all the way across, equal radii. But we have got to find what that radius is. So, does anybody have a clue on what we could do to find the radius? Think about what I showed you at the very beginning of class, something about the radius. So I want to find this distance. Pythagorean theorem. Now I could use the distance formula between those 2 points. D equals big radical x2 minus x1 parentheses squared plus y2 minus y1 parentheses squared that we learned a long time ago. Right? That would work. Or I could make a right triangle right here and find the hypotenuse. Okay? Y'all with me? And it's easy to do a right triangle because I can count my spaces on horizontal and vertical lines to get my legs, right? I cannot count spaces to get a hypotenuse, but I can do that to get my legs, horizontal and vertical lines, right? So how many units is from here to this right angle? 2. How many units is from the bottom of my right angle to A? 3. So the radius here will be 2 squared plus 3 squared equals r squared, derived from the Pythagorean theorem, right? And I don't know about you, like I said, you could use distance formula, but I think Pythagorean theorem is a little easier. So what is 2 squared? 4 plus what's 3 squared? 9 equals r squared. What is 4 plus 9? 13 squared equals r squared. So the square root of 13 will equal the radius. Okay? Now I'm not going to put that in and get a decimal. Not doing it. I'm going to leave it exact. Okay? Because I want to find the equation for the circle. So I'm going to leave it radical 13. Okay? And we've had lots of practice with simplifying radicals, so that should not scare us to leave that radical 13. Now, for the equation of the circle, do I know the center? Do I know the radius? Yes. So I'm going to say x. Now my center is 1, 1, right? So x, so I put plus or minus. Minus 1 squared plus y. 1 squared equals radical 13 squared. And all I have to simplify is radical 13 squared. And what is radical 13 squared? 13. So my equation of my circle is x minus 1 squared y minus 1 squared equals 13. Because that 13 is the radius squared. That's really not. All you have to do to get the radius is make a right triangle, do Pythagorean theorem from your center and your outside edge point. Let's try one more of these little friends. It tells me the point negative 2, 0 is on the circle whose center is at 1, negative 3. Write the standard, Sorry, I said backwards. Negative 1, 3. Write the standard equation of the circle. So I've got the center. I'm going to have to find the radius. Now I need to graph this, don't I? I need to graph those 2 points so I can do my Pythagorean theorem, so I can do my 2 leg lengths. So make sure you do that. That's why I gave you graph paper. So negative 2, 0 is on my circle. Where is negative 2, 0? on the x-axis at -2. And -1 up 3 is my center. So my radius will be the length from the center down to that point. So how am I going to find the length of that radius? Yes, you could use distance formula, or I prefer the Pythagorean theorem. So you make your right triangle with the r as the hypotenuse. What's my horizontal unit? Okay, but what is the length of that horizontal line? 1. What's my length of my vertical leg? 3. So to find the length of r, we're going to say 1 squared plus 3 squared equals r squared. What is 1 squared? What is 3 squared? Equals r squared. What is 1 plus 9? Equals r squared. And how do I find just r? Square root of 10. And it won't simplify, will it? So radical 10 equals r. So any questions about how we got our radius? All right. So which one of those points is the center? All right. So I'm going to do x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So x, then what goes in with the parentheses with x then? Change the sign, so plus 1 squared plus what goes in parentheses with y minus 3 squared equals radical 10 squared. And what's radical 10 squared equal? Just plain 10. So x plus 1 squared plus y minus 3 squared. Y'all think y'all are good on that? Can we skip the you try? All right, I got one challenge problem for you guys. Well, those are actually the endpoints of the circle. It's a diameter. I need to scroll it so you can see my words. Sorry. It says the points -7, -1. That's this point right here. And the point 3, 3 are endpoints of a diameter of a circle. What is a diameter? Yeah, it divides across the center of the circle, right? That means the center is somewhere on that diameter, right? The diameter has to cut through a center. It says, what is the standard equation of this circle? Whoa, mama. If I need an equation of a circle, I need what 2 things? Radius and center. Did they give me either one of them? No, they gave me 2 endpoints. I need the center of that circle. Darn it. What am I going to do? Tell my sis, well, I can't do this problem. I can't do it. They didn't give me no center. I ain't doing it. That's what Jake would say. Mrs. will do it for me. How do you think I can get the center? Yes. I could if this was a horizontal or a vertical line. Because I just can't count units on this diagonal line. Got it? To find the center? But I don't know how far to go over. There's something else I could do to find the center. Not distance. I don't know where to make a triangle at. I don't know where the middle is. That's what I got to find. I'll use that to get my radius, but I got to find the middle point first. And I just gave the clue words for what I'm finding. Not mid-segment. Midpoint, right? This is a segment, right? Halfway across that segment is called the midpoint, right? That's what I need because half the diameter is the center, which would make a radius, right? Right? Okay, so I can find the center of this circle by finding the midpoints between these 2 points. Now, there's a formula for that. We learned it a long time ago. x1 plus x2 over 2 for the x's, y1 plus y2 over 2 for the y's. Basically, you take the average of your x values and the average of the y values. Add the x's together, divide by 2, add the y's together, divide by 2, and the ordered pair you come up with is your midpoint. And that will be our center of our circle. So what are my 2 x values they gave me? So negative 7 plus 3 over 2. What are my 2 y values they gave me? Negative 1 plus 3 over 2. And you simplify your numerators, and you get negative 4 over 2 and 2 over 2. And then you divide those, and what ordered pair do you get? Negative 2, positive 1. There's your midpoint, which is also the center of your circle. Graph that point. Left 2, up 1. There it is on my diameter. Right? Yeah. That's really the only way you could have got that one. Because like I said, you could get the distance by distance formula and then halving it, but it's kind of hard to measure where that would be when you have a slanted line. If you had a horizontal or a vertical line, you could do that by counting units, but not when it's a diagonal line. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, how are we going to get the radius? Then you can do Pythagorean theorem. So you can draw it like that. You can draw it above it like that. Either way, just make a right triangle with the radius being the hypotenuse. So how many units do we have up and down? How many units do we have left and right? 5. So you're going to say 5 squared plus 2 squared equals r squared. What's 5 squared? Plus 2 squared is equals r squared. What's 25 plus 4? Equals r squared. Take the square root. So radical 29 is your radius. Now that you have them both, you're going to say x, change the sign, plus 2 squared, plus y, change the sign, minus 1 squared, equals radical 29 all squared. And what's radical 29 squared? So x plus 2 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 29 is your equation of that circle. Now, you're not going to see many like that. That's why I said this was a bonus. Y'all are honors. Y'all deserve a challenge. All right, so that was fun. And that's the end of equations of circles. Have a good day.